go, show.
Sorry,
Believe,
I'm gonna do this instead of taking notes.
I gotcha. Believe, grow, go, show. Okay. Now I'm going to break it down little by little. Okay. So the first one, oops, man, it went out. Okay. So you have to believe. How do you believe? You become a Christian. And so the question you have, and there's a question that goes along with every arrow. So the question you have, what does it mean to follow Jesus? What does it mean to follow Jesus, right? That's what it means to believe. What does it mean to follow Jesus? What does it mean to believe? So you have to be able to answer that question for people. And I don't mean like, oh, we talk about it once a month. No, I mean like you talk about this all the time, right? Like I would end a sermon with, where are you at on your journey? Do you need to believe? Do you need to grow? Do you need to go? Or do you need to show? Like I would like, that's what I'm going to say every single week from the time we launch until I leave the church or I die. Like, either one, right? That's the case. Believe, grow, go, show, right? So do you have to believe? What does it mean to believe? You follow Jesus. You give your life to Jesus. You place your faith in him, right? What does it mean to be? What does it mean to follow Jesus? So we have to answer that question to understand what it means to believe. Okay. So the next one is, the question we ask is, what does a growing disciple look like? So you have to come back. So look, a growing disciple has passed the barrier, right? They've passed the barrier from being part of the world to being part of the church. And I don't mean like part of Legacy Church. I mean being part of the church, like being a believer. And we have to make sure people understand that, right? Okay. So then we say that. So we say, well, what does it mean? What does a growing disciple look like? Well, they worship, there's discipleship, and then there's fellowship. And then this discipleship, that's where you can really break it down. For graphic sake, you don't want to have that, like, you don't want to have all that information up there, right? But I would say we have 6 practices that we teach: read, pray, give, gather, serve, and tell, right? That's what growing disciples do. We read our Bibles, we pray, we gather and worship, we serve, we give financially, and then we share the gospel, right? That's what growing disciples do. You worship, discipleship, and fellowship. All right. Of course, I'm doing this super quickly. Okay. The next question. So now we get to grow. Believe. We cross the barrier. Grow. So we grow. And what do? We send people back out into the world across the barrier that we might go back into the world, right? We don't just stay here in our comfortable little bubble. We take the message of the gospel with us, right? What's our transfer? Because our transformation agent, of course, is the Holy Spirit, right?
Yeah.
And the means of transformation is Jesus' death on the cross, right? So we believe, and then we take the message to the world, right? Now, you don't have to be a full-on, like, I know all of the Bible disciple to go, right? But we're teaching you to grow to be a sold-out disciple, because you can be sold out without being perfect, right? So we go, well, what does it look like? That's the question we're going to ask. What does it look like? What is the product? So if we cross the barrier into believe, what is the product that we want to send back out? What do we want someone who loves Jesus, who's being discipled, what do we want them to look like as they leave and as they grow in our church, right? And so that's what we send out into the world. What do we want to send out to take people with us? And so we ask the question, what does a sold out disciple look like? Well, he's reading his Bible. They're reading their Bible. They're praying. They're doing these things, and they're looking to be more and more like Jesus every day, right? Little by little. And then finally, we show. What does it mean? How do we tell other people about Jesus? Well, we proclaim. We love them, and we invite them to church. But notice the first thing we do is we preach the gospel. Proclaim. We preach the gospel. Invite's the last thing. I mean, it's inviting people to church should just simply be a part of that. Now, your graphic is a little cooler than mine, but do you see what I mean by, like, there's a flow to it?
Yeah.
It's not linear. It's circular, right? Now, the question they always ask you in church planning is where you need to find different places that people can get on board, right?
Right.
So our on board is when we show people the love of Christ, but ultimately there's only one on board to being part of the church, and that's believing in Jesus, right? So we do all these things, but how do we get people there is we do this. we share the gospel with them. We love them. And we invite them. And that's how we get them on board to ideally believe. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And then teaching people, like serving within your church and leading is a different little loop down here. I think too many times we put serving and leading along this path, along the main pathway, and it's not, because not everybody's a leader. I mean, not everybody's a leader, right?
Right.
It's the truth, right? And so I think I could even probably take serve off of there, but I don't want to have just lead down there because I don't like how that looks. But you see what I'm saying? So that's what I mean by having a process. And so you need to have this, and you need to refer to it, and you need to talk about it, and it needs to be just in the vernacular of your church. It needs to be, if who Warren says it, Ed says it, you know what I'm saying? Like Natalie says it. Everybody who is part of your church, and this needs to be in their vernacular, right? Where are you at? So what I would ideally have people in our church be like, Don, where are you at on the journey?
Right.
Where are you at on the journey? Like if and then we can even like where are you at on the journey? All right, brother, how do I help you grow? All right, how do we go together? How do we show the love of Christ? And then everything we do as a church has to do with this, right? If it doesn't accomplish one of these things, we just don't do it anymore.
Right.
Does that make sense? Like
right.
Everything, it's kind of a little bit of purpose driven, but not really, because ultimately we're like this is very just a biblical model of seeing someone grow, and everything we do needs to contribute to this.
Right.
Because that's just who we are. So I would say, so like I'd preach the sermon, right? And we get to, as you get to the end, your kind of decision time, I would probably like pepper this in and say, ultimately, like, okay, so what's your next step? Like I would close the sermon. All right, what's your next step? Folks, we talk about the journey here at Redemption. And so here's the thing is, where are you at in the journey? You need to think about this thing. So we always challenge people in 4 ways: believe, grow, go, and show, right? So let me ask you a question this morning. Like, do you believe? Have you placed your faith in Jesus? If not, you haven't even taken the first step on the journey. So let me encourage you that that's what it looks like. You can talk to myself, you can talk to one of our leaders after the service, you can fill out a Connect card, and so one of us will get in touch with you this week, and we can tell you what it means to believe and to place your faith in Jesus. Maybe you are a believer and you need to grow. We would invite you to come grow with us. See how that works? Come grow with us as a church, as we are looking to grow and to be more like Jesus as a church, not just, obviously we want to grow numerically, and that's not what I'm talking about here, but I mean, we grow spiritually, we encourage one another, we disciple one another, we will walk alongside one another that we might be. So you need to have somewhere to belong that you can grow. Maybe you're a believer and you need to be thinking about the people in your life who need to hear about Jesus. And we would, maybe you've heard something this morning, and I want to encourage you, and I want to tell you that the Bible tells us to go, right? Look at the Great Commission, go into all the world, proclaiming the gospel. And so that is part of your job. Maybe there's somebody in your life that you need to share the gospel with. Maybe there's somebody who needs to hear this message that we've shared about Jesus's death and his resurrection, that you might be forgiven for sin. So I would encourage you, and I would say that we are on this together, that it is our job to go into our community, that we might proclaim the gospel. See how that works? Every single time we're going to talk about it on our Connect cards. Join the journey. I'd like to join the journey. I'd like to join the journey. I'd like to join the journey. We'll have posters of it. I mean, I'm gonna get a better graphic together, but we'll have posters of it. You know what I'm saying? Join the journey. And we'll probably have, like, as you go into worship, it'll be the big one, and then believe, grow, go, show. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right. Like I've thought of that because I've seen like New Hope used to have the banners up on the stage with each of the parts.
So you should say, like, yours is very good. I like yours, but where's the flow?
Right.
Do you see what I'm saying? Well, so like, that's what I'm saying. If you're looking from the outside, if you're a visitor and you're just coming into the church and you see the journey up, you can look at that and go, oh, I get it. What's my next step? Because it shows you what your next steps are, right?
Yeah. Like, if I look at this, all right, we both have no God. change the world would probably be your go.
Mm-hmm.
To make disciples, that would be trying to think what it was on yours.
Grow. You could really make disciples and find community.
Grow, yeah. And then the show would probably be the find community. Really.
Right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, stick with what you have. That's fine, because that's what like you've developed. But what I'm saying from an outsider, I looked at that and there's where how does it flow? How does it where do I get on board?
Right.
How do I start? What's my first step? What's my next step? How do I know where I'm at? How do I know where I'm at? Those are the questions that you really should be asking as you're designing systems like that. Where am I at on this system? How do I take my next step? How do I take my first step? How do I get engaged? That's all I'm saying. Like, it's what you have is good, but it's got to be, and it's just got to be just part of who you are, part of what your church. It's got to just be. I mean, not central to your church, because Jesus is central to your church. You know what I mean? But if you're going to make a process, it's got to be on the practical side. It's got to be central to it's got to be what your church moves through at all times. Because if not, then why have it? Like, I mean, I'm not being a pain in the butt, but if it's not going to be, if it's just like, cool, it's this cool graphic we have on the wall that we refer to once a year when we preach a series on it, then like, why have a series to begin with? Because you're not actually, it's not a process that you follow. So that's all I'm saying, is if you're going to have it, it needs to be just integrated and integral to your church.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Hold on. Let me stop this now.